seeing people like you doing what you're doing makes a big difference. And I remember when you guys did your session and Aaron was delivering part of the session, and I turned to my friend Emmanuel, and he said, "He's one of the mandem." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, he was like, Aaron's just one of the mandem. And like, you sit there and you listen to you talk, and it's like, yeah, like if I was 10 years older, like me and Aaron would be kicking it, playing basketball or like stuff
100%.
like that. So like seeing someone who has come from a similar background and area to you doing a job that you want to do, sort of, you know, helps you overcome those mental barriers that you might have put in place.
100%.
Saying, oh, hey, like, has literally just like me, he's one of the mandem. The mandem are flying planes. This can't be right.
Hey, and welcome to this episode of Amy Point. I'm Aaron, commercial Airbus A380 pilot. Now, a few days ago, me and Michelle had the pleasure of speaking to Jordan Smith. Jordan's a friend of ours. We've known him for, I guess, about 5 years now. And he's an aspiring airline pilot and has been through a great journey so far, inside and outside of aviation. He has some great stories to tell, some great experiences that I think you can really take away and apply in your own aviation journey, whether you're just starting out, maybe you're in training, or even if you're already a pilot, just aspiring to be a better pilot. Now, luckily, when we spoke to him, he's just about to release some amazing news in his future within aviation. I won't spoil it now. So here's me and Michelle getting to know a little bit more about Jordan and his past, present, and future within aviation. So first things first, before we kind of get in and delve into everything, the first thing we're going to do is some quick fire questions, just so people, the listener, can get to know who Jordan is. So first question, how old are you?
So I'm 27.
27, nice. And what's your background? So ethnic background and your heritage.
So my family from the Caribbean, predominantly Jamaica. So dad was born, grew up in Jamaica. Mum was born here in the UK. My dad met my mum while here on holiday. One thing led to another. They made me, saying that, you know, birds and the bees talk. Nice. Someone else can have a conversation with you. But yeah, grew up in South London, you know, very multicultural area. Grew up around different cultures, which was, you know, great for me growing up. I'm a very curious person, so it was nice to learn from, you know, different people from all around the world, you know, different classes, different backgrounds. Then went to university, got a few jobs, and yeah, I'm here now, which I assume we'll talk about in a little bit.
Nice, man. Have you always lived in the UK? Have you lived in any other country?
No, born, raised, and always lived in the UK.
Sweet. What was your first job?
My first job was as a swimming teacher. So I used to be a swimmer when I was younger. When I was about 16, 17, I got my level 1 swim qualification, which was paid for by my swim club. And yeah, I teach the younger age groups how to swim.
Okay, cool. What's your go-to coffee order?
So it's the same drink, but the time of year depends on a change. So in the summer, I'll get an iced white mocha. In the winter, I'll just get it hot.
Yes. Kind of guy.
I feel like that is Aaron's drink all over. Yeah.
It's my go-to. It's my go-to as well. If it's hot,
does that even count as coffee?
Yeah. It's got like 4 or 5 shots of coffee in there. Yeah. It's just called a mocha because there's a chocolate syrup. It's not actually a hot chocolate.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Listen, they don't do it in the UK, but in the winter, if you're like out somewhere else, toffee crunch latte. It's amazing. I'm a white mocha person, crunch?
Like,
but
do they have like crunchy bits in the coffee? Because I feel like that would ruin it for me.
No, it doesn't. Okay. I don't know why they call it toffee.
It's actually toffee crunch for the name. Okay.
Yeah, it's like an oat milk toffee crunch latte.
And then like crunching.
And then chewing your coffee.
No. I think what they do, sometimes they put like the whipped cream on top and then have some sprinkles of some crunch stuff. I don't normally get that. The coffee is good, man. It's good. Anyway.
Anyway, less about you and more about me.
Yeah, exactly. So, are you a dog person or a cat person?
Probably go dog.
Okay, cool. All right, now let's flip it to more aviation-related questions. So, what's your favorite aircraft?
A350.
Nice.
Interesting.
We make it into that at some point.
Is that what you flew on back from New York?
Yeah. My New York trip was on 350.
Nice.
Oh, nice. It's a nice aircraft, man. It just looks like a nice.
It just looks so clean and sleek. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice choice. Favorite airline? I don't know if this is. It doesn't have to be working for. It could just be, as a passenger.
I'm not really a favorites kind of guy, so we'll skip this question.
Look at this. Look at
There
this.
you go,
He's
Jordan.
good.
Yeah.
I'll be media trained. Don't worry.
Look at this.
We want the real Jordan,
Yeah. What's your favorite destination? It could be as crew or as civilian.
So I would probably say, other than Jamaica, which would be a very biased answer, I'm gonna have to go Barbados. Beaches, the culture, the vibe in Barbados is, unmatched.
Nice, man. Okay. And this last off-the-wall question: would you rather sing everything you could say or dance every time you move?
Oh, sing! I wish I had a voice of velvet.
Okay.
That was an easy question. Do you know how smooth you would be if just everything you said just sounded like you were singing like Luther Vandross or something?
Yeah, it would be smooth. Smooth operator.
As opposed to dancing around everywhere, you look a bit,
true.
a bit strange.
Just stop people in their tracks.
Yeah,
it's very true. Your PA would be interesting, though.
Oh, it would be. Yeah.
Your PA, people would listen to.
There would be no disruptive passengers. People would be so keen to be on the aircraft.
People would, when you landed, people would sit down. There'd be none of that standing up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That'd be lovely.
Okay.
Cool.
I think we know Jordan a little bit more now. That's cool. Icebreaker. Nice. So down to serious stuff now.
Serious stuff.
Stuff.
We met. When did we meet the first time, Jordan?
It was
a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
2022. It would have been. Because your session in the program is quite late, so I was in the 21-22 program.
That's true. Yes. Okay, so you did the Fantasy Wings program when Aaron and I were doing the presentation.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for the listener, we'll get into it more in probably a future episode, and we'll try and get the owner of Fantasy Wings on. But Fantasy Wings, actually, we can let Jordan explain it since he's been through it. Like, what was Fantasy Wings as a participant, as a aspiring pilot?
Yeah. So, quick bit of context. Always knew I wanted to get into aviation. And when I finished university, I was sort of at a dead end. I graduated just after COVID. Didn't have a grad job lined up. Everything was a bit up in the air. What did you study
at uni?
I've got a master's in aeronautical engineering. So very related to aviation.
So it's something aviation, okay.
So yeah, there was, a field that I studied, wasn't really sure which direction I was going to go in. Knew I wanted to get into aviation. Being a pilot was always of interest to me. And a family member sent me a flyer for a program called Fantasy Wings. They actually sent it to me for the first year, but I missed the application deadline. So I sort of kept it saved for the next time it opened. So when I graduated uni, applied. And Fantasy Wings is essentially a program that does a lot of work trying to improve the diversity, both ethnically and gender-wise, across aviation. And the way that the program does that is by educating young people from 13 to 25 on the opportunities within aviation. So whether that's getting people like yourselves in to talk about their jobs and their sector of the industries, engineers, air traffic controllers, the CAA come in, Manchester Airport Group come in, and they sort of talk about a specific area of the industry to help educate you as a young person about what goes on in the industry, but also how to better yourself, how to fine-tune your skills to be a more attractive candidate when you're applying for these jobs. So yeah, I attend as a student. It's a 10-session program, so 10 months, one Saturday a month, and each month is a different partner that comes in to talk, and at the end of it, there's a big annual conference where all 3 locations come together, all the partners and speakers come to a big event. It's good for networking. There are a few awards that are given out, and some of the speakers come down and tell a bit more of their story and go into more detail.
Because didn't you get an award? Was it 22 that you got an award?
Yeah, so 2022, I got a few of the awards. Nice. I got a trial flight.
Got a few. Just a few.
Just a few. I was quite a successful candidate on my year. So got awarded a trial flight, and then I got awarded a £10,000 bursary for a flight school, which sadly went bust the following year.
Shame.
So I almost caught a lucky break by not having quite started my course yet. And then I was asked to be an ambassador for the World Championship air race, but that season got cancelled that year. So yeah, of the 3 awards, I was only able to make use of one of them. But yeah.
Oh man, that sounds good. I remember hearing about the different things that you could that people were winning, and I was like, Red Bull Air Race. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. When the applications opened, I said
around.
I'm going to apply to everything. I might not get anything, but yeah, and then I ended up getting something in each category. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
And the year that we did Fantasy Wings when you were there, it was in person, right?
Yeah, so we were the first in-person year.
That's
so
it,
I was
yeah.
on the second year of the program. The first year was all virtual. That was when COVID hit, and then my year was the first in-person year.
That was cool. Yeah,
because I remember coming to yours. We were like sat next to each other in front of a laptop, trying to do the presentation that way. But then I think, and it was weird for us as well because we couldn't get any feedback. We couldn't see if people were people keeping up with us. Did we explain something properly? We couldn't really see.
We had no visual, could we? We couldn't see anyone. Visual. It was literally just we're looking at ourselves and hoping people are following along, typing in the comments.
Hoping was that people still stay
a question section where people were able to ask you questions, or was it purely just a one-way lecture type?
No, we were doing something on, was it failure management, like how we deal with emergency situations?
I think it was the same presentation that we did for you, Jordan. Yeah. Failure management. Yeah. And we tried to make it as interactive as possible, but it was difficult when we couldn't get any feedback. So I think we did have a comment section.
Yeah.
But then maybe there was a little bit of a delay. And
didn't we also have like a question and answers thing where they could, like at the side, answer different questions and we could see the
that's true. Yeah.
The split of what people answered. So it was as interactive as we could make it at the time, COVID.
We made it work. And it was good that we could still do it during COVID. Yeah. But I think when we did it in person, I think it worked a lot nicer, much better. Yeah, that's true.
I have to admit, the year that you were there, when it came to the awards, the big awards annual ceremony, when your name came up for a few of the awards, I was like, I am not surprised. And honestly, because I think the group that you were in, when me and Michelle, after we finished, we were like, this guy is like, he's on it. He's going to go somewhere, man. You were really dedicated. You were really you were into it.
Engaged, they're asking good questions.
Yeah.
I think for me, I had the benefit of being one of the older. So I was just finishing. I was 22, 23. It's been almost 4 or 5 years now since then, which is, crazy how much time has passed. But I had the benefit of being a bit more older, a bit more mature, and sort of starting to have an idea of exactly where I wanted to go in life. I just sort of carried myself and, went the direction that I needed to do to get where I am now, where I'm going.
Yeah, it works, man.
And now you do what's your role within Fantasy Wings now?
So when I finished that year in Fantasy Wings, obviously, as we've just said, it was a big successful, got some awards. Wanted to stay involved somehow with the organisation. I thought they're doing great work. If there's some way that I fit into this picture, let's see what we can do. So I reached out to Jackson and said, hey, is there any small job, anything admin related that I can come and do? So I started off as a program assistant. So once a month at the London session, I'd come in, help sign people in, get the table set up, do sort of small preparation stuff for the sessions, while Mo would host, deal with the speakers, and then I'd sort of look after everything else. And I'm now a program manager for Birmingham, so I help host and organize the Birmingham session. And I'm also the head of scholarships, so I'll be deciding the criteria that people will be select on and help running that sort of selection process for this year's awards.
Nice.
That's really
good work. It's really nice. It's almost like full circle for you, because you know how much Fantasy Wings has helped you. Yeah. So I think it's great that you're using the experience that you've got now
to give back and help
forward
others
in your career to give back. Yeah, no, that's really nice.
So part of what I'm currently doing is I'm mentoring last year's PPR scholars. And one of the reasons Jackson wanted me to do that is I did my PPR last year on a scholarship from the company of air pilots. And I did that in 3 months, minimum hours, while working full-time as crew. So it's a case
which is
of...
no joke.
No, it's no joke. I was stuck in Jamaica for a week.
Night shifts.
I'm a long-haul crew member as well, so I spend a lot of time away from home. So it's not like I can just, spend all my days off flying. It's, some of my days and downtime is, away in a completely different country on the other side of the world. So I sort of know exactly what it takes to get an intense syllabus of training done in a short amount of time, how to come over various challenges. And it's almost a mentality of you're going to come across challenges. You just need to figure out a way to overcome them. And every
road,
problem has a solution. You just got to be, willing to look hard enough to find it, or be humble enough to go and ask for the help to, overcome a problem that you have and perhaps can't deal with yourself.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
It's such an important mindset.
Yeah,
because
absolutely,
as we all know, aviation is not, number one, it's not an easy industry to get into. And just because you've, got your job as cabin crew or got your job as a first officer, it doesn't mean that the next few years are guaranteed. You still got to put the work in. You're still going to have challenges along the way.
The work never stops.
Not easy.
No matter what stage you are at in your career in aviation, there's always something new to learn. There's always skills to keep. And it's definitely something you've got to be aware of when you're looking to get into the industry. It's not do your training, start the job, and then coast for the next 30 years. There's always something new. There's always a development. There's always a new procedure, a new training that you've got to do or complete. You guys are in the sim every 6 months to a year. So you know what it's like.
Yep. There's always something.
Absolutely. There's always something. So before we get into what you're doing now, let's kind of rewind a little bit. Like what was the moment that you kind of fell in love with aviation or knew that you wanted to be a pilot? Was it always, or was it a certain point, something that set it off?
So I think with a lot of people, the first experience of an aircraft is going on holiday. And the same was to me. I was going through old passports the other day, and my dad pointed out that my first ever time on an aircraft was when I was a baby, and I was in his passport. So it was back when a child would travel on a parent's passport. So my first ever flight was on a Jamaican passport. And then, going back and forth from the Caribbean and America to visit family, that was my first experience. But my first time actually flying an aircraft was in the Air Cadets at 13. And I think that, when you get into an aircraft and someone says you have control, that's the first moment where everything just sort of, something unlocks in your brain and you get that experience. And I was like, I want to do more of this. I don't know how it's going to happen. I want to do more of this. So did a bit more flying in the Air Cadets. 16, got a gliding scholarship, 10 hours of gliding, and went solo. And if you ask anyone, the first time solo in an aircraft, whether it was gliding or a powered aircraft, the first time you went solo is something you never forget. It's just an experience that's burned into your memory. Me doing a circuit at 16 in a motor glider, something I'll never forget, hearing that all the other aircraft are staying clear and it's just me in this little pocket of airspace doing one big circle and landing. And that amount of responsibility for a 16-year-old, by the way, is way too much. 16-year-olds should not be given
a lot, isn't it?
Expensive business. And you can get your pilot's license before you can get your driver's license, which is a fact that, often boggles, civvies that I talk to. But I always have to point out that the amount of training you're going through to get your pilot's license is way more than your car license.
That's true.
And that actually, 16-year-olds getting their pilot's license are probably way more responsible than some older adults getting their driver's license.
That's true.
That's something to be concerned of. So gliding scholarship at 16. Knew I wanted to get into the industry. So when it came to university choices, I went for aero engineering. I was interested in the area. I was always told it was a hard degree, but I thought, if I enjoy it, it's going to make it a bit easiser. Did a master's in aeronautical engineering, graduated from university, completed the Fantasy Wings program, while I was working, doing a non-aviation related job. And then
what was that?
So when I graduated uni, I used to work at festivals during the summer at uni. So
I remember. That's it.
I'd do my term and then I'd go and work at bars, at festivals around the country. Met a few people that I kept in touch with. And when I finished uni, was going to go and do the same thing, but ended up doing my security course, getting my security badge, and then working as a security officer at festivals and events. Nice. Did that for about a year and a half, ended up becoming a supervisor and a manager for the company that I was working for. And that brought me to some amazing places around the UK. And we'll talk about it in a little bit, but it was a bit of a side quest. And me and Jackson had this running joke that by the time I met Jackson, got to know Jackson very well, who's the CEO of Fantasy Wings, for anyone listening, I knew I wanted to be a pilot by that point. That's the only thing I wanted to do. It was a case of figuring out how I'm going to get there. But for about 2 years, I did everything but pilot training. So I did no flying for about 5 years before uni.
Yeah.
Did no flying for about 2 years. And so we had this running joke that I was just doing loads of side missions and side quests. And the conversation came up because when I play video games, that's exactly how I play video games. I don't do the main story mission. I'll do all the side missions, level up, and then go back and just ace the story mission like it was nothing. So yeah, doing this security job was a bit of a side quest because I was developing all of these skills that airlines and organizations are looking for from pilots. And I'll mention the pilot competency matrix. That's not something I found about until I joined Fantasy Wings. But when I look back, all of the skills that I learned while being a security officer, supervisor, manager, teamwork, leadership, problem solving, decision making, situational awareness, that's all skills that I was working on in the background, whether I knew it or not. And then I got to a point where, hey, I'm applying to airline cadet programs. I'm going for these competency-based questions. And actually, all of these examples that I'm giving are nothing from aviation-related tasks. They're all from my time in, elsewhere, where I've got really good examples where I've demonstrated these skills and aptitudes that they're looking for. So yeah, all those side missions and side quests paid off. Went from that into my current job as cabin crew for Virgin Atlantic. And again, when I went through that interview, it's apart from all the safety skills that you're going to need, it's a very customer service based interview process to be cabin crew because it's a customer facing role. Most of what we do day to day is customer service. And again, most of the examples that I gave from customer service were from my time in security, because although my main job as a security officer is, the safety of the venue and the people, it's a customer facing role. People are going to be asking me questions for directions. You're dealing with customers, for the most part in a very positive way. So a lot of my customer service skills came from that, from my time working in retail, which, anyone who's ever worked in retail knows their customer service skills, something that you definitely need. So all of those skills just sort of kind of, got developed and built. And so, going forward then through aviation interviews, everything just sort of clicked and I realized actually I've got all these skills that they're looking for. I just now need to figure out how to apply them and package them in a way that says, hey, look, I am an outstanding aviation professional.
Yeah, it's so true. I remember going through like a lot of different interviews, like along my career path and thinking, because a lot of them now are based on competencies and they'll ask you, okay, tell me a time where you've shown leadership. Tell me a time where you've done this. And the more things you've done, the more industries maybe you've dipped in and out of, the more examples you've got. And I always felt like, oh, this is good, because if you've done so many things before flying, one, you've got a lot of different examples, and two, they're probably hearing from the interview perception, they're probably hearing some stuff that they haven't been hearing for the last 4 or 5 interviews, which is most people just saying, yeah, flying, I did this, I'm at the flying club, I do this flying. And now they're hearing about security or DJing, or being a swim instructor. And like, okay, this
and you naturally start to stand out a bit more because they remember, you're the person who does this really cool thing, or you're the person that did that. When I did,
you can engage with them in a different conversation. Then you talking about something else, and it's just natural instead of how many hours do you have, or just as something a little bit different.
And when I went through my last interview process for my next job, which we'll talk about in a bit, I remember at one of the earlier stages I mentioned that I'd been a security manager at the World Cup in Qatar, and obviously that's like
nice.
Not many people can say that they've gone to a different country, a big global event, with the youngest member of the team and had a great time. And then at the last stage of the assessment process, I came across the same interviewer, and I remember them saying to me, "Oh, are you the guy that went to Qatar and worked at the World Cup?" And it's like, I've clearly stuck in this person's mind from that one cool thing, and then subconsciously they'll just remember everything else about you because you're that person that did this. So it definitely helps being a well-rounded candidate, someone that's got an interesting thing you could talk about. As much as everyone in this industry has an interest and secretly loves aviation, it's really good to sort of be a well-rounded character, have experiences outside, because to an extent you can probably teach most people to fly an aircraft, but then it's that character and personality that you bring to the job, which I guess helps with things like the teamwork and the CRM, and being able to show that you're able to what's your longest flight, Aaron, at the moment on your network?
Like 17 hours.
Yeah, so you're going to be sat for 17 hours in what's essentially a little metal box with someone. So you've got to have a bit of character and personality around you, otherwise things become very dull very quickly.
That's true.
And I think when you go for interview processes, the recruitment specialists are looking for that. They're looking for someone that's, you know, going to integrate to a team and help the team perform, you know, to a standard
Absolutely.
higher than anything else.
You know, and sometimes the interviewer are like pilots as well, and they'll be like, if they're looking across the table thinking, this person is going to be so boring to fly with. I mean, it may not be on their list of things that they're supposed to be assessing, but it's a factor. Stick in their mind too. It is.
It's a factor. Whether whether you've got 100%, you know, you just think, actually, as a team member, is this environment going to work, you know, long term? Especially when there's an interview, you're trying to show the best side of yourself. So if you're already like boring in the interview, what else have you got to offer? You know, it's definitely something to consider. Jordan, what about, let's say there's somebody that's at Fantasy Wings now, or who's 18 and they're desperate to become a pilot now. They've been to school, GCSEs, A-levels, desperate to become a pilot now. Would you recommend that they go straight into it? Would you recommend that they do a couple of things outside of aviation first? Because this is a question that I get asked a lot whenever I've been to Fantasy Wings. What should I do? Do I need to go to university? I'm just desperate to get into flying.
I did my A-levels in 2016 and I went to a grammar school. So
makes me feel old.
At that time, Fantasy Wings wasn't a thing. And I wasn't as aware of my options as I am now, or perhaps when I finished university. And I think probably one of the biggest things I say to people is each person's situation is going to be ever so slightly different. So there's no perfect way to get into aviation to be a pilot or to get any job you want in aviation. There's no one set path for each person. Everyone's situation is going to be difficult. And the best thing that you can do is do your research. Go to conferences, go to events, speak to people, network, learn as much information as you can, and get the tools that you need to make the decision for yourself. People can advise you. And I definitely think it's worth, you know, doing aviation related hobbies is great. But, you know, I was an athlete growing up. I was a swimmer. I did team sports, and doing stuff like that, again, it's a side mission, a side quest. You don't realize you're developing leadership. You're developing teamwork and communication. You're going to football on Sunday and playing football with your friends. And then, you know, 5 years later, someone's asking you about a time where you were a leader and you failed and what you did after that failure. And you realize, oh, actually, 3 years ago, me and my football team lost the cup final. And then we went away, did this, rah. And then the following year won it. That's a story of a time where you as a leader overcame a failure. And you don't realize it at the time. And being able to network with people, you know, coming back to that, talk to people in the industry, network with your peers and your friends. So I've got about 5 or 6 people from my cohort on Fantasy Wings who I still talk to, you know, on at the very least a weekly basis. We talk about aviation, we share opportunities that come out. If I see something that's opened, I'll send it to a group chat and we'll talk about it. So yeah, as well as trying, you know, find a mentor in the industry, find people, you know, like yourselves who are in it, interact with your peers, because in 10, 15 years time, you're all going to be in the industry together. And it's good to have people, you know, that you've come up with from the very start to now. And I'm sure, you know, you guys knew each other at EasyJet for years, and, you know, you're here and you've got a podcast together, and it's those peers that you're going to keep relationships with throughout your time in aviation. University is a great option. Obviously, if you want to be a pilot, you know, the financial cost is a big thing. University is another financial cost. So it's, again, a decision you have to make, and knowing everything you need to know through going to events, university open days, Pilot Careers Live, which is happening in a few weeks, events like that where you'll meet people in the right places that give you the information you need to make your decision. But the one big piece of advice I get, or that I would give, is do stuff outside of, you know, school, outside of work. Have a hobby, have a life that's not aviation. Not only that you can talk about in interviews to show that you're a well-rounded candidate, but it helps you develop the skills that you might not be working on day to day in whatever you're doing.
100%. And that's kind of the answer that I tend to go down. I say, even if you're desperate to be a pilot now, maybe just you don't have to go to university because it's not required to become a pilot, but if you want to, that's great. But also, why don't you take a year out, do a job that's completely different, go and travel for 3 months and like learn about yourself, develop some new skills, meet some new people. And like you said, it's not aviation related, because without even knowing it, you're building your personality, you're building your character, which I think is really important. Because otherwise you can get into aviation at 18. That's such a long career. And I think it's nice to have skills from outside of it, because I imagine, if most pilots were, or cabin crew were, security trained, you'd be like a more well-rounded person, because that's quite an important safety critical job.
Really useful skill that I learned from my time in security that I've used countless times in my time in aviation as cabin crew is basic de-escalation. Going into
conflict
a scenario
resolution, there you go.
Conflict resolution, de-escalation, going into a scenario that has the potential to get really messy, really nasty, and actually just completely turning it into a new direction, not having to go through any restraint procedures or anything crazy like that. Just going in, having a conversation with a human being, it's very easy to go into a situation, see a conflict happening, and try to stop that conflict, as opposed to just steering it into a complete new direction. And
you almost want to come in and match that level.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
shouting, so I'm going to come in shouting. Yeah,
and it's definitely a personality thing, because you can go into a situation, someone says something really nasty to you, and all of a sudden it's whether you rise up to their level or come down to the level that they're at. It's where you go from there as a person sort of helps steer what's going to happen. And a moment I always remember from my cabin crew training was when we did the conflict resolution module. Excuse me. There was a third party come in, they teach you how to de-escalate, and then the restraint techniques that you get taught. And then we do a scenario where you act out a disruptive passenger, and then you've got to sort of de-escalate, go through the procedure. And you do it in like a group of 3, and I volunteered to sort of be the first person that goes in and talks to the person. And I ruined the scenario because the way that I was talking to the instructor and actor, I made them laugh during the scenario, which is always what I do in any conflict situation. You walk into a scenario, someone's got a problem.
Because you can't be angry and
build
laugh,
a rapport.
can
You can't be angry with someone that's just related to you and made you laugh.
Exactly.
And it instantly flips the whole script. So I made them laugh in this scenario, and we just had to stop the scenario because she couldn't continue this. And she said, even after all the training you've done, that's exactly what you want from that situation. And I've had scenarios on board where, someone's been upset by something, 2 passengers have been going at each other, and you walk in and you make both of them laugh, and you walk away not having to do anything else, because all of a sudden someone smiled, they've laughed, and they've probably realized, actually, you know what, I'm going on my holiday, I've probably overreacted, I apologize. And there have been a number of scenarios where, passengers have kicked off at someone or kicked off at me, and halfway through the flight, they've come out, you know what, I really overreacted, I just want to apologize for what I said. It wasn't on you, I'm having a bad day. And most people are just having a bad day, and they don't need to take it out on you.
It's not
don't
personal.
Take it personally. It's, they've reacted, they've shouted, it's not at you. They've missed their connecting flight, they've been sat in an airport for 12 hours, and now they're on in 12 hours again, and they haven't got their first choice of meal, and that's blown the fuse. And it's like, just consider that someone's going through something else that you haven't realized. Treat them like a human being, have a bit of empathy. And most times, you're not having to restrain people and tie them down to seats, duct tape, or anything crazy like that.
No, let's not do that. No.
I know, right?
Would you change anything about your journey so far? Sorry, Aaron.
So,
would you have wanted to get into aviation, or would you have wanted to get straight into a pilot job?
If it was up to me and I had the options and the facilities for it, I would have gone straight into being a pilot at 18. At the time, it's all I wanted to do. But as I said before, I wasn't made completely aware of my options. I didn't know that there were things like pilot study degrees where you could go to a university, start your pilot training, have some of that covered by student loan. So I think, if I had the options, the choice, and the freedom, I would have done it straight out of school. But I'm perfectly happy with the journey and the route that I've taken. It's made me who I am. Mistakes, failures. It's the route that I've taken hasn't been straight. And I think most people in the industry will say something very, very similar, that it hasn't been a direct path from where they wanted to be to where they are now. And that sort of zigzagging, picking up different skills, meeting people along the way has made me who I am today, and I wouldn't change anything.
Nice.
That makes sense. So was, at what point, because obviously now, for a few more days or weeks, you're cabin crew with Virgin Atlantic. Was that always in the plan, or at what point did that become the plan?
And would you recommend it to people, aspiring pilots? Would you recommend a couple of years as cabin crew?
Being cabin crew has been great. I've loved most things about the job. As with every job, there's going to be pros and cons. working as crew, you know, whether it's flight or cabin, can be quite a fatiguing job. My time in security taught me how to manage fatigue massively. You know, doing 6-12-hour night shifts back to back at a festival taught me how to manage sleep, keep healthy, be well rested. So again, you know, this whole zigzag
You're gonna
path
have to
I'm talking
teach
about. I went straight from that to being cabin crew and doing night flights. So I already knew how to manage, you know, fatigue in my body, you know, stay hydrated, eat healthy, exercise, get sleep when you can. Climbing into a crew bunk and falling asleep for 45 minutes is a skill that I had when I joined the job. And some people just can't do it. I'll just hit a pillow and 2 minutes later I'm snoring.
And then when you get up, you're good to go.
Yeah. Get up, smiling, ready to go. People coming down, has a mess, doing the makeup. And I'm like, hey guys, let's go. Come on, let's crack on. It's
you got the extra
That's
few minutes sleep because you didn't need to do your hair.
Exactly. Yes. You know? I was able to wake up 2 minutes before break end, get down, put my shoes on, tie on, go. Versus people that have to wake up 15 minutes earlier. Exactly that. And I don't really drink coffee. You know, like I rarely drink coffee. When I first started this cabin career, I was like, oh, everyone's drinking coffee. I'm going to have to drink coffee. And then one day I was just like, it's getting a bit expensive buying a Starbucks every time I want to go flying. And I just stopped drinking coffee and I didn't notice any difference. So now I just drink coffee for the taste, if I'm honest.
I remember one guy that I flew with and he was like, oh, so what do you drink in the morning to stay awake? And I was like, just have some water. He's like, what, you don't have coffee? I was like, no, I don't need coffee. He was like, whoa, I don't know how you do that. And even my friend said, when you become a mum, parent life, you're going to need those mini espressos. So just let me know when you need one and I'll come and buy you one. And I'm like, it's not for me.
I don't need it.
It's not for me. It's a popular drink amongst crew, though.
Definitely. But yeah, so I was in Qatar just before I applied to be cabin crew. And I got a phone call from someone at British Airways that said, hey, there's rumors and murmurs about a cadet program being started. I know that this is what you want to get into. So I just want to give you a heads up. Don't know when it's going to open. Don't know what it's going to look like as a program. But there's talks about it starting. And this person
called you as a result of fantasy wings, networking,
exactly
all that kind of stuff.
Of my networking, meeting people, and
I'm
quite a passionate person, so I'll talk to people and they'll remember the facts that, hey, oh yeah, that Jordan guy really wants to be a pilot. I've just seen this. Let me send it to him. He might be interested. So while I was out in Qatar, I applied to a number of aviation jobs. You know, ramp agent, check-in agent. I applied to work in some of the lounges at some airlines, and I applied to be cabin crew at some airlines. And the mentality behind it for me was, I've got all of these skills, but I've got nothing aviation related. And I personally wanted something aviation related that I could go to an interview and talk about, just to say, hey, I understand what the industry's about because I have a job in the industry, as opposed to I understand what the industry's about because I've gone out and done research. It's sort of a bit wishy-washy compared to, I've worked for aviation 2 years. This is what I know about it from that. Here are the skills that I've gained outside. So interviewed for a few positions, ended up taking a position at Virgin Atlantic as cabin crew, and the experiences I've got are invaluable. One of the things that made me take the cabin crew job was I asked myself, what job can I do that's closest to being a pilot without being a pilot? And the answer for me was cabin crew. I go to work and I'm flying with 2 to 3 pilots every day, and I'll talk their ear off in the flight deck. You know, pilots always say at the briefing, hey crew, come up and say hello. You know, I'm sat with, you know, Harry and Jack for the flight. I want to see another face. And most crew don't find the time to go up there for whatever reasons we're busy. But me, no, I'm that person that's always on that flight deck camera. Let me in. And
me
part
again.
of it, you know, part of it is the passion and the interest in it. You know, I'll go up and I'll ask questions about the flight deck. And those conversations, you know, people hear me asking, you know, you said earlier I was asking the right questions, and it's that I'm coming in and I'm asking questions about the way that they're working. And when I'd ask to go in for takeoff or landing, you know, most people go in for the view out the window, and I'd be going in because I want to sit and watch how these guys are working. And a piece of advice that I always give to people in the industry is, if you're around people doing a job that you want to do, ask the right questions and observe. And 2 things you really want to take from it are, so for example, me, one thing that I take away is the kind of pilot I wanted to be. And I'd learn that from watching pilots do what they're doing.
Okay, yeah.
And I'd see things happen. I'd go, oh, I want to be that kind of person. I want to be that kind of captain. Or I see a way that they carried themselves, you know, the briefing or down route. And I'd be like, oh, I like the way that you've done that. That's the kind of captain I want to be. And the second thing you want to take away from it, which is the flip side, is that's the kind of pilot I don't want to be. So you'd see things happen in the flight deck and you'd be like, oh, I didn't really
100%.
like that. Or you'd hear someone talk a certain way or carry themselves a certain way. And so over the past 2 years, I've sort of built up a profile of the exact kind of captain I want to be, both from my personality
Well, I'm
and from
sure it comes
observing other
naturally to
people.
you anyway. I'm sure
I
that's just part of your
there's
personality.
I think there's an element of that,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
You'll learn two things from observing people doing the job you want to do. You'll learn the exact kind of person you want to be, the exact kind of person you don't want to be. And the clarity you get from that is all of a sudden the path to where you want to be starts to become clearer, because now you know exactly where you want to be, what you want to be doing. And it's going to sound so cliche, but I had a moment during my time as a security officer where, as much as I enjoyed the job, I realized that the time spent not doing the job I wanted to do was making me want to be a pilot more, because, hey, I really want to be a pilot. This is another year I haven't been a pilot. And you sort of, knowing where I wanted to get and what I wanted to be, you reach a point where you just have to lock in and you've got no choice. I know where I want to be. Now I just need to figure out the steps, make a plan. And there's a quote I saw recently. I'm probably going to butcher this, but it's something along the lines of a goal without a plan is just a dream. A goal with a plan is... I can't remember. I've absolutely butchered this. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make here is like, if you know where you want to get and you have a plan, everything becomes easier. And it's another cliche phrase that first step is the biggest one and it's the hardest. So for me, that first step was applying to be, cabin crew. And despite all of the stuff I've done before, coming to be cabin crew is probably the thing that made me realize, hey, cool, I'm seeing these guys do this. These guys and girls do this day in, day out. I really want to do this. I can't wait a minute longer. I need to figure out how I'm going to get there. Let's develop the skills. Let's find the plan. And then, a bunch of cadet programs opened up post-COVID, which was sort of the sign that the industry started to recover. Things are getting good now. Applied to Aer Lingus a few times, applied to TUI, applied to British Airways. And there are a lot of rejections. And I think that's another thing to tell people that want to get into the industry is most people don't get a pilot job first time. They won't get, a place in a flight school first time. The majority of the population won't get a place on a cadet program, period, let alone first time applying. And it's all about how you pick yourself up and move on from those rejections, turn it to a learning experience. Don't get rejected and, get down about it. Learn what you can from that rejection. You might not get feedback, but have the awareness to figure out where you think you were weak, where you think you might have failed, and work on it. That might not have been where you failed at the end of the day, but you've now worked on that area as a result of it. This next time you apply, be a stronger candidate. And if you're a stronger candidate every time you apply, rule of stats, eventually you reach a point where you're now in the top percent of applicants.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So before we go into you actually getting onto one of these programs, was there a plan before the scholarship program started to come up?
Years when they first started working, the plan for me was, I don't come from a background where the finances are readily available to cover the cost of pilot training. So the plan for me was always join as cabin crew, get the experience in the industry, apply for cadet programs, and at some point leave cabin crew to go either back to security or some other career where I'm able to save up the money to, go the modular route or integrated and finance training myself. So that was always the plan, to come and get the experience in the industry as crew, learn what I can, network, meet some great people, get that bit of the process done, and then go away and figure out the finances. I was very fortunate to get a place in one of those cadet programs, which we can talk about now, I suppose.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's a perfect thing and a perfect bit of advice for people. The finance issue, which is a big issue to a lot of people wanting to become pilots, that's not necessarily going to be solved overnight. But there's also some other barriers to getting the job or passing the interview. So as well as trying to work out those financial barriers, work on some other things that you can do now, today, this week, this month, which is, see exactly what you did. It's just great.
And even the finance barrier is a barrier. But look at it as more of a timescale thing. If you work hard enough, you can get the finances eventually. And while you're doing that,
then it becomes achievable.
Yeah.
Then it's not just a big number.
Don't think about it as, hey, I want to be a pilot now. I don't have the money, so I can't be a pilot. It's, the mandatory retirement age is 65. If you're 20 now, that's a 45-year career. That's a long time. Take 5 to 10 years out, do something else, do another career, get the finances, do some side missions and side quests, build up all those skills, get the finances. And by the time you get there, you're the kind of candidate where people look at you going, oh, you're basically a captain right now. You just don't have the stripes of the training. Let me train you. And then you work your way up. And, I'm not teaching you to be a captain. You're a captain in everything but rank and role, which is a mindset that I started to apply to my cadet application processes. And it's definitely a marked change that I can look back on and compare the first few times I applied to these sort of schemes and where I was when I eventually got a place. And one of those mindset changes was, even though they're advertising for the position of a cadet and first officer, approach this as a captain, because if an airline's spending upwards of 6 figures on an individual, if you think of yourself as an asset, if you're investing that amount of money, you want a nice big return on investment. So if you're approaching this situation as, hey, I'm what you're looking for in 30 years, I just need you to pay this amount of money and train me to get there, you're not going to have to teach me to be a captain. I'm already, as I said, I'm already a captain in role and rank. That's the kind of mentality and mindset you got to have. And then, they're saving money on that management training because you've already got, that mentality.
Nice. So Speedbird Academy's newest member, yeah?
Yeah, so breaking news. So
you heard it here first.
Congrats.
It's so funny. So for anyone listening, I've got a place in the British Airways Speedbird Academy, and I'll be starting flight school in just under 2 weeks. But
Is
it's
it
a secret.
Soon?
Yes, it's that soon. So I've got
Nice.
one more trip left with Virgin Atlantic as cabin crew. I'm going to Cape Town on Saturday, which is around the corner.
Nice.
And then I've got 5 days off and I'm moving to Gloucester for flight school. But it's a secret that I've kept. And I say secret. So the application process started last year, April. We got the email and phone call in September to find out that, I got a place, got given a March start date. And the only people that knew were my parents and my sister. And I didn't start telling people at work until December. And I didn't post anything. So part of the reason was I was still doing my PPL at the time. So I still had my PPL scholarship to finish. So I decided, hey, great news. Let me finish this before I celebrate. So about a month passed. I did my skills test at the end of September. Then we had all of the contracts to sign. I had my medical renewal to get done. And I thought, let's get through these potential hurdles before I start telling people. Because the last thing I want to do is tell everyone that I've got this place in the cadet program, something come up in my medical renewal, and now I'm delayed by a year. And I've got to explain to everyone why I'm not flying a British Airways yet. Didn't want that hassle. So I thought, okay, let's get these hard obstacles out the way first. So sign my contract, sign my bond contract, sign my training agreement, got my medical renewal done. And then we got to January, got to December, started telling people at work. And the other reason I didn't post on social media was there were some people that I wanted to tell in person. There were a few people that, sort of helped me or been really invested in my journey that I wanted to tell in person. I didn't want them to see it on an Instagram post or a Facebook post. I wanted to call them, FaceTime them, tell them in person, hey, all the work that I've put in, all the support that you've given me, I've reached this point. And I remember telling, so I had this, those remove before flight keychains that everyone in the industry has.
Yeah.
So we got a British Airways one at our final assessment day. And one of my best friends from work, I saw them at work and I said, oh, hey, I've got a gift for you. Gave them this keychain. And they're like, why are you giving me a BA keychain? I don't want a BA keychain. And then the needle dropped and they're like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, I've got a place in the program. And yeah, so seeing those reactions, the emotions of people sort of made all the hard work sort of worth it. And then I didn't do a social media post because I wanted to tell my extended family. So I had a couple of weeks ago, I had all of the extended family around and I invited them round under the premise that we were celebrating my PPL scholarship from the summer, celebrating me getting my PPL license. So where I'd recorded some of my training, I stitched a video together, had it playing on the TV, then put a little presentation together to talk about my PPL, what I've been doing since, what I want to do next, and then ended the presentation with, in 3 weeks I'm moving to the other side of the country to start training for British Airways. And everyone was like, wait, what?
Nice.
Like, how have you kept that secret for 6 months? And I was like, easy. I just didn't tell anyone. It's not that hard to keep a secret. But no, it really was a hard secret to keep because, it's something I really wanted. And, people
you must be super proud.
People that have known me for a long time are always asking, oh, hey, how's crew going? So what's next? When are you going to be flying us to Jamaica? And obviously I knew the answer to that question. I was just
That's true.
I'm not sure, I'll probably do crew for a little bit, knowing full well that in like 3 months' time, I'm starting pilot training to fly BA.
How's that going to feel, your first flight to Jamaica?
So, I'll be flying the 320. So Jamaica's probably, I don't think they've quite got the range on that yet to hit the Caribbean.
But maybe one day? Is that what you want to do?
Definitely one day. That's, I'd love to go long haul.
Imagine if you could take your whole family on your plane.
I know, everyone's already said that they want to be on my first flight. So there's going to be a 320 flying to like Eastern Europe somewhere, full of a bunch of Caribbean people and my friends in the back. People are going to be trying to buy tickets genuinely to go on holiday, and it's good. They can be like, "Why is this flight sold out?" No one ever flies here this time of year, and it's just all my friends in the back. But I think one big thing to take from that is just the amount of support and the network that I've had. It's one of those journeys where it's tough. You can have to make sacrifices. And when I was in my PPL over the summer, I didn't see any of my friends for 4 months. And, they were having link-ups, they were meeting up, having social events, and having friends and family that understand, hey, I can't come to this event. Here's why. You know what? Don't worry. Completely understand it. You do you. We'll see you when you're done. And now my friends are all queuing up for me to go and take them, on a flight in a little Cessna or a Piper. And it's like, hey, we didn't see you for 4 months, but hey, when are we going flying? And it's like, exactly. Having that sort of network of people that just understand and can be supportive makes a big difference. Which is why, I said earlier, network with your peers because they're going to be understanding of the situation that you're in because they're doing the exact same thing too. And, it's being able to call people FaceTime makes a big difference, not seeing them, but, having family
and it's
friends,
nice to have people going through the same thing. Like even to talk to someone else that hasn't seen their family or friends for a couple of months, then like you can talk through it together, but there's a goal that you're working towards and that's what's important for you guys. But talking together.
British Airways Speedbird Academy, starting on the 3rd of March, 18 months of training, 320 type rating, and then hopefully if all goes to well into schedule by Christmas 2026, I'll be flying passengers live, which is a crazy timescale because I've been at Virgin for 2 years. So to think that the time that I've spent here, which has gone by in a flash, is longer than the time between now and me flying full paying passengers is a crazy scale to think about.
It's going to be so good,
and I just get so excited thinking about it.
And
I'm looking forward to it.
Congrats.
But I also want to go back to Fantasy Wings and say, seeing people like you doing what you're doing makes a big difference. And I remember when you guys did your session and Aaron was delivering part of the session, and I turned to my friend Emmanuel, and he said, "He's one of the mandem." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was he was like, "Aaron's just one of the mandem." And like, you sit there and you listen to you talk, and it's like, if I was 10 years older, like me and Aaron would be kicking it, playing basketball, or like stuff 100%. Like that. So like seeing someone who has come from a similar background and area to you, doing a job that you want to do, sort of, helps you overcome those mental barriers that you might have put in place.
100%.
Oh, hey, has literally just like me, he's one of the mandem. The mandem are flying planes. This can't be right. And it's and then like having that conversation with people, and then me sort of talking to the next generation. And I've always been a very, very chilled and relaxed person. And when I've delivered talks and stuff, there's a level of formality to it. But when I'm talking like one-on-one or in small groups to younger people, I'm just myself. And, I'll talk like I do at home. I don't put on my grammar school voice. And I'm like, I grew up in Southeast London. I grew up in Lewisham. I did well, was successful, worked hard, went to a grammar school, went to a uni. There's no reason why you can't do the same thing. And you shouldn't be thinking, hey, just because of where you've come from means that you can't go to certain places. Be yourself. Bring your personality and your character to work. If you put the effort and the hard work in, you can get wherever you want.
But people still have this old school picture of what a pilot looks like. And I think through the work that we've done at Fantasy Wings, and I think the work that they continue to do, and I think Aaron and I, we've talked about this before, pilots are just normal people that are lucky enough to do a job that they love, that is flying a plane. But people are just normal people from all different kinds of backgrounds.
Don't get me wrong, there's a standard, definitely. There's, a certain common element between all pilots, but every pilot's an individual. And you realize it when you talk to people. You know, you get out and you go up to the flight deck after a flight, or you catch someone in a terminal, and you realize, actually, this is a normal person who's going to watch an Arsenal game as soon as they land, and you know, things like that.
Exactly. Good team choice, by the way.
I mean, that was just the first thing that came up because they're in the news for not doing very well at the moment. But
yeah, but it's so true, and I think people are always really surprised when they hear Aaron's story. I'm going to say, because Aaron, you didn't really like flying before, that wasn't something that was on your radar. DJ, basketball, just.
I've realised that loads of pilots were DJs at some point, because I used to DJ at uni. I feel like it's a skill
I saw that on your social media. I'm like, wait, John used to DJ. How did I not know this?
I used to DJ for years before uni. Then I DJed at clubs at uni. I'm like, yeah, you talk to pilots. Oh yeah, I used to DJ back in the day. And it's like, you too. What's going on here? Like, DJs just decide that they want to fly planes.
Yeah, man. We like pushing buttons. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah. Sure, yeah. That makes sense.
Oh, nice.
I mean, sometimes I feel like, I don't know if you feel the same way, Michelle, like, we wanted to do this. We wanted to kind of give back because we never had this kind of thing when we were growing up. I mean, you know, I sometimes feel like I almost tripped and fell into aviation. But I think the big factor for me was I didn't see anyone in aviation that looked like me or was kind of from a background like me. And yeah, I guess I didn't used to do the networking and all this kind of stuff that you've done. But I don't know, sometimes I forget that and have to get a bit of a check. Like, if someone can hear our story or your story or Michelle's story, and that can just spark something in them to say, you know what, I can do this. Like, because this is...
Or even just see us walking through the airport.
Yeah.
You know? Just see us walking in our uniform.
Yeah.
It's Jackson, who's a great individual, and I look forward to, you know, the episode when you get him on. But he's doing great. As you said, it's seeing people, even if it's just to the airport, seeing someone, especially for young girls. It's one of those industries where there's, you know, it's very, very skewed towards the male population. And whenever I fly with a female pilot, you know, be a captain or a first officer, if I ever come across, you know, like a young girl that's, you know, and I overhear a conversation or find out she's interested, I'm always trying to get her to the flight deck to see this, you know, female captain, just to be like, hey, look, you're a young girl, you want to get into aviation, go and talk to someone who's, you know, been what you've been through in terms of like the misconceptions and the prejudice that might come towards it. Instead of having someone tell you that you can't do this job or that it's not for you, have someone tell you, hey, it is for you. I'm doing it. Look at me. Come and sit in the seat. Come wear my cap. Come wear my jacket. Take a picture. And those are the kind of things that you look back on and think, you know, what was the moment where your interest for aviation started? For some people, it was that time that they got taken off the flight deck. I just did the New York trip that I just did during boarding. This family got on and one of the girls had a camera and she was vlogging, you know, getting on the aircraft. And I'm an absolute prankster and a joker on board. I am a menace. People love and hate to fly with me at the same time. And it's one of those things where, like, I've got the confidence that if stuff gets serious, then I get to a point where I switch into work mode.
You can switch it up and do what you need to do.
But as long as, you know, everything's going well, come to work, have a bit of fun, make people laugh. And that's the kind of personality I brought. So yeah, this family have got on and this girl's, you know, walks past with her camera and I've said, excuse me, no filming on board. And she's put her camera away, got all shy. I was like, no, I'm joking. Everyone had a laugh. And they went and sat down and I was like, oh, you know what? I actually kind of low-key feel bad for scaring this girl getting on board the aircraft. And I went down and I was like, hey, look, I feel really bad. When we get to the other end, would you like to go in and see the flight deck? And she was like, oh my God, can I? Really, really, really? I was like, cool, yeah. That's the kind of reaction that I want. That's the kind of person that I want to say, hey, come with the flight deck, get your videos, get your pictures, because she'll probably look back at that moment and think, hey, when was the time where you realized you wanted to, you know, come and have a job in aviation? Oh yeah, one time I went to New York and this crew member brought me to the flight deck seeing it. I realized that's where I wanted to be. And so probably because of the work I do outside of flying as crew, when I'm at work, I try to do what I can to, you know, talk to people, answer questions. People hear about my story and they want to ask a million questions. And I make sure to make time where I can to answer those questions. Because as me and Aaron were saying earlier, it's one of those jobs where if you don't know how to get to places or you don't know what's needed to get a particular job, you end up just becoming a bit stuck and lost. And sometimes just being signposted in the right direction can make a big difference. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So what's your worst and your best experience in aviation so far? It could be training all the way up to, what you're doing now.
Probably training, crew training. I absolutely loved crew training. It being quite a smart individual, I didn't find it difficult per se. So the studying was quite straightforward for me. So to me, it was just a 5-week residential trip with 24 mates. So I was, I had a great time. I made so many good friends from that time, both from my course and the course either side. And for me, having such an interest in the industry, being able to get that first proper insight into sort of procedures and training, and finally getting a behind the scenes look of the industry I want to work in, was a great moment for me. The worst point, probably, I'm sure you guys will agree, delays happen. And sometimes you're down route and you just want to get home and nothing's going right. I did a trip to Miami and we were flying 2 different aircraft types on each sector. So we were flying Boeing 787 out, the Boeing 787 out and the Airbus 330 back. So they positioned the Boeing crew out with us in the Airbus, and then we're going to position the Airbus crew back with us. The first officer that they positioned out to fly us home developed a DVT on the flight out. So got grounded down route, couldn't fly home. And obviously that's half of the flight crew gone. So they had to delay us by 8 hours from flying home from Miami. They positioned out a first officer from Jamaica to Miami. And the reason we were delayed 8 hours is because they had to give him 8 hours rest in a hotel before he could fly. So they flew him from Jamaica to Miami, put him in a hotel, put him in an airport hotel, gave him 8 hours rest, delayed our flight, and we left Miami at something like 2 a.m.
Wow.
So yeah, that's when you just want to get home and nothing's going your way. A few cabin defects that just make the job a little bit harder, have to make that smile a bit wider. Yeah, that's probably one thing I'm not going to miss from this job and not looking forward to, is all of delays happen, stuff goes wrong. Luckily, it doesn't go very, very wrong often. And when things do go wrong, they never impact safety. So, for anyone that's listening that's thinking, oh my God, stuff's going wrong all the time, safety is always the top concern in aviation. And again, it's comforting for me to see that actually happening in real life, and then be able to go talk to nervous passengers and be like, hey, that bit of tape that you can see on the wing is purely for aerodynamics. It's not duct tape. The wing's not falling apart. And I always say to nervous flyers, the question that I always ask to a nervous flyer is me explaining stuff going to make it better or worse? And if they say better, I'll sit there and I'll explain what they can see, the sights and the sounds. And if they say it's going to make it worse, I say, I'll go get you a drink, I'll be right back. And I just leave
that
it to
is a great question, because some people, if you're doing PAs, you have to judge how much information do you give, because some people want to know everything and some people are just like, they don't want to hear it. So it's it's such an important question to ask, especially if they're nervous, because you could make the whole situation much worse.
Much worse. So the New York trip I just did, it was really windy landing into New York, and the captain said the winds are really heavy. Sorry, just got a bit of a speech impediment there. The winds are really heavy, so he's going to have to put it down hard to make sure that the wheels get down on the ground, make good contact. And
Did he say this on the PA?
No, to us.
I was thinking you were meaning the PA. I was like, wow.
So I said,
probably
my first thought was, okay, he's making excuses already for a hard landing. But obviously, knowing what I know about, flying, I was like, okay, that's actually a legit thing to be saying. So I had this really nervous passenger, and I went down, I said, I asked her that question, I was like, hey, there's going to be a bit of weather ahead. Is me explaining what's going to happen going to make it worse or better? And she said, it's probably going to make it better. And I sat there and I explained to her, it's going to be turbulent, so it's going to be bumpy. The aircraft's going to be rocking around. That's perfectly normal. When we land, it's going to feel heavy. The captain's doing that intentionally to get us on the ground, so that we don't get blown off centerline or anything like that. And she's like, I really appreciate you coming. Sat in for landing, and we ended up having to go around. So I'm sat in my jump seat thinking, oh my God, I've just told this woman we've got weather and it's going to be a hard landing, and now we're going around on a missed approach. And then we came in and it was a fine landing the second time round. But she got off and said she really appreciated someone coming and explaining what was going on. Because sometimes you hear something like the flaps going down, and if you're a really nervous flyer, you're going to be thinking, what's that noise that's going on? Michelle, you still fly the 320, right? And Aaron, you used to. So the barking sound probably sounds weird to most people. It's just the power transfer unit. But having someone explain to you, And I always premise it by saying, oh yeah, I've got my PPL, I'm leaving in a few weeks to go and be a pilot. And then instantly people realize, okay, whatever this guy's about to tell me is legit and not just something he's making up to make me feel better. But yeah, it's really fulfilling to, have people come off, a flight and say that, I've made a difference in their experience.
Yeah.
That's good.
Which is something that I'm hoping to carry forward, into my career as a pilot, through
Yeah,
my
hopefully you'll
PAs.
still
And
have
it's
time.
definitely a skill
Yeah.
that you learn to pick up, as you said, of being able to gauge whether things I'm going to be saying are going to make matters worse for nervous flyers or better. And it's that balance between giving everyone a reason and, going off and talking all this jargon that no one's really going to understand and is just going to make people feel worse.
Yeah,
Because
true.
I think a lot of nervous flyers are nervous because it's like they don't have control, they don't know what's going on. So just having that little bit of knowledge that, oh yeah, the firm landing was because of this, or oh yeah, that noise is because of this, or oh, we go around and that's the safest thing to do. Okay, that's fine. If they know it's coming up, oh yeah, they said there's turbulence in half an hour and it's here. Okay, fine. It's not just random things happening that, they're not sure what's going on.
And a go around can be quite scary because you're coming in, you think you're going to land, and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of noise, the engines have gone to toga, and now you're going up again.
Yeah.
And if you're really nervous and genuinely have no clue what missed approach is, you're thinking, what's going on? This isn't right.
You'll be surprised. Sometimes people actually don't even notice. They're like, oh, I didn't even know that we climb back up. And you're like, okay, yeah, good.
Just thought we were still coming
in
tonight.
right then, yeah.
Oh man,
smooth
yeah,
maneuver.
I know.
Yeah.
We were,
that's it.
A few years ago, we were coming into Tenerife as a passenger, and me and Felicia were sitting in the back, and we did 2 go-arounds in Tenerife. One of them was relatively low down. It was like, I think they got wind shear, go around. We ended up diverting to Fuerteventura, and she doesn't love flying. Let's put it like that. So, every time there's like turbulence or something's going on, she always just looks at me like, is that supposed to be like that? I'm like, oh, it's all right.
And you're sort of thinking, why are you being so dramatic? Chill, it's normal.
I know, well,
That's it.
to us, it's normal. We do it every day,
Yeah.
Okay, go-arounds we don't do every day, but, we kind of know what the deal is. And I was like, nah, don't worry about it. And then we came for the second one, like, sure, it'd be fine on the second one. And then we went around again. I was like, yeah, it's fine. They're probably going to have to divert
Starting
now,
to lose credibility
but,
here, Aaron. Yeah.
I know, right? Oh, man. But yeah, no, honestly, having that extra little bit of knowledge for some people, like, because for her, she just wants to look at me and it's like, is that normal? Like, is this? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. But
when you start
for some
panicking,
people,
then
it's
she can
knowledge.
start panicking.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which then makes me think if something did happen, I shouldn't panic because she'll just like pass out or something if I'm panicking. So I'll just be like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, the wing is supposed to be on fire.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Sometimes.
It's okay. It's okay.
We've got one, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes one engine just shuts down by itself. It's fine.
Yeah, it's normal. It's normal. Yeah. They're just saving fuel. Yeah.
You never had this before?
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. You never noticed last time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
So what are you looking forward to most? Like what are you like looking forward to the most in your kind of upcoming journey?
So weirdly enough, training. I'm looking forward to getting back to the classroom again and sort of again learning. I probably won't be saying this in 3 months' time when I'm knee deep in exams, but I'm looking forward to having done my PPR last summer and got a taste of what's to come. I enjoyed that massively. Those late nights studying books. I hated it at the time, but looking back, I had so much fun doing my PPL over those 3 months. So looking forward to training, getting into the aircraft again, starting to fly multi-engine stuff, in the later stages. I'm just looking for, just to learning again, getting into an aircraft, just having that experience, going cross country, across Florida, in an aircraft of my own, looking forward to all that. And then I think probably after that, it's that first landing. There's going to be a lot of pressure. But if I can absolutely butter it and be stood at the door, big grin on my face, taking all the applause. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Looking at you from the front.
However, if it's a heavy landing, that flight deck door is going to stay closed because we've got paperwork to do. And no one will be seeing me until the aircraft.
On the first landing, if it's not a great landing, you just say, "Oh yeah, that's the captain." It wasn't me.
Yeah. I did the last one. Yes. Sorry you missed it.
Sorry you missed it. Yeah. Cool. So, kind of looking forwards, we ask everyone this: what's your aiming point? So short term and long term. What is your aiming point? What's your your goals, have you got any goals that you've set for yourself, kind of short term, long term, in regards to going forward in the career?
So I guess sort of my first short term goal is get my license done, get my rating done, be flying the 320, have that uniform on, and be able to go back to my school, to Fantasy Wings, and deliver a talk and say, hey, look, I was where you are 7 years ago. Now I've got some stripes on my on my wrist and shoulders. That's probably my short term goal. That's definitely something I can see myself doing in the short term. Long term, captain is definitely the goal. I want to be able to come over to the PA and say, hey everyone, it's your captain speaking. And sort of my uncles back home in Jamaica are already, they're already joking about it. And my new nickname is Captain Speaking, which, it's, they're definitely not putting any pressure on me or anything. But yeah, long term, my goal is to be a captain. Where I go from there is, a decision that's for later down the line. But definitely want to get sat in the left-hand seat at some point.
Man, I'm sure it's going to happen, man. Yeah.
It's definitely
going to
happen.
be following your journey for sure.
And I'm looking forward to sharing it, honestly. It's
100%.
Yeah.
When I found out I was going to get a place and start training, and as I said, I kept the secret of me getting the place for about 6 months, didn't post anything on social media for various reasons. And then I had another conversation with myself of, am I going to share this experience on social media while I'm training? Am I going to post about it? And I then posted, a couple of weeks ago that I got a place and, got a really good response from people, both congratulating me and then asking questions about my story, people that have got young kids or kids that are getting to the sort of age where they're making that decision and they want to know what I did and how, if my story can help them make a decision or anything like that. And answering those questions and talking to people made me realize, what, hell yeah, I'm going to post about this experience. Because if someone can see something that I've posted, take something from it and end up achieving what they want to achieve, that's a great feeling for me. And I posted a couple of videos on social media about the recruitment process and what you can expect. Nothing that couldn't be found online publicly, but it was a case of having someone who's been through it just take. So for the Speedbird Academy, applications currently open and close on 21st. So depending on when it goes out, people might hear it or not.
Yeah.
That depends on how quick Aaron's editing skills are.
I know,
But
right?
rest assured, the Speedbird Academy is more than likely going to open again at some point later this year or next year. So watch this space for anyone listening. But they post a prep document, which is a PDF document that gives you a basic idea of what to expect through the assessment process and a couple of example questions. And I thought, you know what, let me just post a video talking through each assessment, what you can expect. And I just spoke about what was in the document and some advice from my experiences. And they've got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views on TikTok in the last week of just people finding that useful, asking me loads of questions. And that response sort of made me realize, it's not going to take much effort from me to just post what I've done in ground school this week, what I've learned, any study tips and advice. So I definitely 100%. Want to post about it on social media. And then someone, a bit of a Karen, you can decide whether you keep this being or not.
A bit of a Karen, love it.
This Karen commented on one of my videos saying something along the lines of, be careful what you post on social media. Airlines have very strict social media policies. And, that's great advice to someone that doesn't know what they're talking about or someone that doesn't have experience of being in an airline where you have to be very, very careful of what you post on social media. And again, having mentors, having someone when I first started my aviation industry tell me, hey, serious conversation, be careful what you post on social media because there are social media policies and there's certain things you can't post, made me realize going into this job, hey, if I'm going to be active on social media, people are going to see what, I'm going to be public about what I'm doing. I need to be careful about what I post. So I just found that comment quite funny because it was a case of, hey, I've been at, Virgin for 2 years. I've watched people get sacked for social media related stuff. I know not to post silly stuff on social media. And I thought everything I'm talking about is in a publicly available document. If you go on their website and watch the webinar, I'm just repeating everything that they've said in one place to save you having to go and find it. So in my head I was thinking, I appreciate the comment, but don't tell me something I already know. And
exactly.
Like that's probably a Caribbean thing in the sense that, like, if I'm hoovering the house and my mom tells me to hoover, well, now I don't want to hoover anymore. I know I was doing it before, but because you told me to, well, now I don't want to do it. like, and I'm sure there will be people that are hearing this and completely agree. You know, if you're washing up and someone says, "Oh, you never do the washing up," but I've literally got the sponge in my hand. What now? I don't want to do it.
Not happening.
So someone telling me to be careful what I'm posting about on social media, like I haven't been doing it for the past 5 years, was just that kind of moment. It's like, well, now I want to post something I shouldn't be posting.
Yeah. Now I want to post something more.
Yeah, but no, I think going in with the right mentality of, hey, look, there's security and safety procedures that shouldn't be online. There's industry stuff that isn't public knowledge and shouldn't be public knowledge, for security and safety reasons. But if there's stuff that's publicly available and I can just package it in a way that, hey, look, you can just sit and watch a 30-second video and have a better understanding of the process that you're about to go through, then I'll do that. So I'll definitely be posting my journey on all platforms. So if you look hard enough, you can find me on social media. So you can find me at Instagram, JXRDXNS, and from there you can find all my LinkedIn, TikTok, and stuff like that. So I will be posting the journey. Most of it will hopefully be educational and helpful, but I will be showing off me having a good time, especially when I'm in Miami, flying in the sunshine. So if you're a jealous person, you don't like, you don't like to see people winning, then perhaps stay away from my social media because you're going to be seeing a lot of that. So
you gotta love the haters, man.
I love that.
Of course, the haters make it worth it. 100%.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
No, you should be proud of what you've achieved.
Thank you very much.
What you've achieved,
100%.
how far you've got. Like, you've really persevered through to get to the goal that you want to. And like we were saying earlier, everyone has their own journey.
Someone made me aware of something recently that I haven't actually paid for a single piece of flying training so far. So my gliding was paid for by scholarship. My PFL was paid for by scholarship. I've got a funded cadet program with BA. And I'm mentioning that not to show off. I mean, there is an element of, swagger to it. But the reason I'm saying it is the background that I've come from, just sort of the financial barrier is a big barrier for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But there are options out there. But the thing to remember is that those options are going to be for the top percentage of candidates.
You've had to work for them. They've not just been handed out to you.
Things are not impossible, but you're going to have to put the work in. It's going to take sacrifices. It's going to take you going out of your way to say, hey, sorry, I can't come out drinking tonight because I've got to study for a PPL exam tomorrow. Some people don't have the willpower to make those sacrifices and decisions. And it's going to sound harsh, but those are not the people that are going to succeed and be the top percent. It's those people that are willing to make the sacrifices, put the work in for what they're eventually going to achieve, that are going to reach the top percent. And that's what, these funded programs are looking for. They're looking for the people that are willing to put the effort in, put in the sacrifices, and show the commitment to being where they want to be. Those are the kind of people that people want to invest money in. Those are the kind of people that are going to get the funded programs. There are countless candidates that are more than capable of being great pilots that won't get a place in the cadet program. Because they're just looking for the top percentage. That's not to say that you can't be a pilot. You're just going to have to find another route to get there, or work even harder and make sure you get a place the next time around. And I remember so I applied to the Speedbird the first year, got rejected at the online stage, and was absolutely heartbroken. It's like, it's the perfect opportunity for me. This is exactly what I want to do. I thought I was the right candidate for it. I thought I did everything I could. Didn't get through the online stage, which is the first stage, and I thought, how can I not make it past the online stage? I thought I was doing everything right. And that's a moment where sort of you figure out what kind of person you want to be, whether you're going to decide to wallow in your self-pity or do what I did, which was start prepping for the next application now. I didn't know when it was going to open again, but I thought I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I'm ready when it does open. People say to me, applications open, someone sends me a message on Instagram, what can I do to prepare? The honest answer is you're way too late. If you're waiting until the application opens to start preparing for the application process, you're starting way too late.
That's so true.
It was
like
7 months
between
7 months between me getting rejected and the applications opening again. That's 7 months of preparation for the assessment process. And you can't get that amount of prep done in the week that applications are open. You can't start an application, then start preparing. It's been a long-term thing for me in the sense that I've always been working toward this. I've always been developing the skills. And over recent years, it's been more of a fine-tuning and mentality thing of how I then package that perfectly to present in this view. But preparing for assessments, you can't cram that into a week. You've got to do several months of learning, processing, understanding the kind of skills that they're looking for and how you can develop those tests that they're going to be testing for in aptitude testing and all those kind of psychometric assessments, that's time of preparation. Interview prep takes time. It's made easier by being around the right people. Sorry,
like the competency questions, describe a time when, in those 7 months, there must be a time when you've, led a team.
Yeah.
So when you're going through these situations, like, oh yeah, I was a team leader at work today. Write it down, make a note of it in your phone, and like, what did you do? What did you learn? Okay, cool. So then when it comes to the interview, like, oh, okay, I've got all of these examples.
You've got loads of really strong examples you can use. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And I remember, here's another example of how networking really came into to be a good thing. So did a flight with a first officer who was new to Virgin Atlantic, got talking about what I was going to do. And he was talking about the prep that he did for his interview for Virgin to be a first officer. And he had a document that he put together with all of the pilot competencies and interview question types. And he went through and he made sure that in each group of question types, he had an example that he could use in an interview, and then he'd flesh it out, things like the STAR technique and all that stuff. And he eventually sent me that document, and I sort of used that as a skeleton, sort of applied it to my process going through Speedbird. And just to put into scale the kind of prep I did, I ended up going into my final stage interview with a 20-page document worth of competency-based interview answers that I could give. And that's probably longer than the dissertation that I wrote for university. And sort of like you're just going through and having all these examples that I could talk about, so that if I got asked the same question twice, I'd be using 2 different examples. Knowing my experiences inside and out, and just be able to talk about them in an interview. But also having the research and experience of knowing, hey, you're going to ask me a question about leadership, but you're not going to ask me to tell you about leadership. You're going to ask me to tell you about a time when I did this. Being able to recognize, okay, you're asking me about this competency. So instead of answering,
does leadership mean?
Yeah, instead of answering the question that you've actually asked me, I'm going to answer specifically to the competency, because I know that you on the other side of that table have a box that you have to tick to say that I'm demonstrating leadership. So instead of beating around the bush and answering this competency question you just asked me, I'm going to tell you about a time when I did leadership and tell you everything you need to tick that box. And I got stopped short on a lot of my interview answers purely because I was just saying too much. I was not wasting time because what I was saying wasn't valuable, but a case of, hey, I've already ticked this box. You can stop for now. Let's move on. And that was a really good situation to be in, because, hey, I know I've ticked that box now because they've stopped me. They've asked me to stop talking. We need to move on. And most recruitment people won't do that. If, they'll ask you a follow-up question, they'll try and get the skill out of you that they're looking for. So yeah, if someone's asking you to stop talking in an aviation interview, it's probably because you're saying too much and they need to move on because they've ticked the box.
Yeah. And I think I read like there was 20,000 plus applications.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many people they took through.
40,000 started an application. About 25 submitted. 20 to 25 people actually submitted an application. And somewhere between 100.
So say that again, 40,000 started.
So 40,000 people
never
started an application, but about 15,000 didn't submit. For whatever reason. That might have just been people doing research just to click and see what the application looked like, things like that, or people that perhaps changed their mind. So about 20 to 25,000 submitted an application, and somewhere between 130 and 150 people got given a space on this year's intake.
Wow.
So yeah, something like the top 0.8% or something like that, if you do the maths.
And that's great.
That's
man.
not unusual, is it? Yeah, done really well. Yeah, you should be.
So
really
yeah,
proud.
I'm very excited. I've got a friend from Virgin Atlantic who's on the same training course as me. So we both got through this year, asked to be on the same training course. So yeah, gonna have a good friend going through the whole process with me. We met our course intake a few weeks back in January and In Touch Day. We've had a WhatsApp group for about 6 months. So yeah, 2 weeks time, the real hard work begins.
The hard work begins. Well, when you do your first flight to Jamaica, don't forget us.
I'll try not to.
No, right.
No, I won't. Yeah.
There we go.
But yeah, you'll hear me on London Control very soon.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we're listening out.
Love it.
And then maybe one day you and Aaron can pass each other as you're landing
Probably,
and taking off into Heathrow.
Yeah, or I'll be coming in to land behind him and he doesn't vacate quick enough, and we've got to go around.
That's not Aaron. That's not Aaron.
Because those big birds are slow. No, Aaron's in a rush. He's trying to take a high-speed exit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Aaron's got places to be.
I got places to be, man. Places to be, restaurants to visit, food to eat.
Aaron's got a barbecue next week Wednesday. He's got places to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Basketball games to play. Yeah, man.
Oh, cool.
But no, thanks so much. We really appreciate you coming on, and
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, Jordan.
Advice to the listener. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. No, just interesting for me to hear your whole story as well, because I know we've met a couple of times, but we've never had a chance to like properly chat and get into background and like journey and that kind of stuff. So it's nice for me to see how your journey has progressed up until now, and like it'll be really good to follow you as you're getting into that right hand seat, and then one day the left hand seat.
One day the left.
Yeah,
there we go.
For sure, we're gonna have to get you back on. Like, I don't know whether we could do mid training or after training, just to kind of keep up to date with what you're doing, because I'm sure it'd be so useful.
I'd love to come on and give a little update and share some stories and advice, which I'm sure I'll have.
Absolutely.
Cool. Appreciate it, Jordan.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. All right. Yeah, that was a really great catch up with Jordan. I mean, he's a really inspiring guy. Just to see that his hard work has paid off is just really good. I can't wait to catch up with him in the future, because I know this guy's going to go far. So today there's going to be no pilot perspectives video, as Michelle is not here currently. So we're going to skip straight to questions. And we had a couple of questions this week. First one's from Emma. How do you deal with jet lag on long flights? Now, I think it really depends. For me, I tend to prefer to switch to the time zone where I'm going to. So depending on when my flight leaves and lands, I try to either stay up to lengthen the day and then try and go to bed at a normal time for wherever I am. Or if we're landing kind of in the evening, maybe I will not sleep as much, just so that once we've landed, I'm relatively tired, so then I can go to sleep, or maybe have some dinner, maybe go out and then sleep at a sensible time, just so that then I can enjoy the day in the destination where I am. But like I said, it really depends. Some pilots like to stay on their local time, so even if they're in a time zone that's 12 hours different to theirs, they will be up all night when they're down route, and then they'll be sleeping all day just to stay on the same time zone as the place where they live. It really depends. And it also depends on how well you can sleep on board. Now, for me, when we go to the bunks, to the CRC, I can sleep pretty well. So it doesn't really matter what time of day it is. I will normally try and adjust my sleep before the flight to make sure that when I get to the bunk, I'm tired enough to actually sleep. Some guys really struggle, whether they are tired or not. They really struggle to sleep in the bunk. Some of them, some people only manage to sleep 1 or 2 hours, even if we get a 6-hour block of break to sleep. So it really depends. Like I said, you either manage your sleep in different ways, but it really depends on you as a person. So the next question was from Jack, and his question was, can you drink alcohol during your downtime? Now, yes, is the short answer. Yes, we can drink alcohol during our downtime. However, we have to limit how much alcohol we drink leading up to a flight. So the kind of hard rule is 12 hours before you fly, no alcohol. But that doesn't mean you can just go and drink a lot of shots and, be absolutely wasted at 12 hours before your flight and think that you're going to be able to operate. So 12 hours is the cutoff. But, if we are tested before we go on a flight, then we have to have, it depends on where you are in the world, but it's very, 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 very minimal amounts of alcohol, like 0.02%. So basically, absolutely no alcohol within your system by the time you actually turning up to a duty. But other than that, outside of being on duty, as long as you're outside of them windows and your alcohol level is zero by the time you're operating, yeah, of course, you could drink alcohol, obviously responsibly. But yeah, it's absolutely no problem at all. So that's it for the questions. If you have a question that you want us to answer on the podcast, send us a message on social media. It's at aimingpointuk, or you can send us an email, aimingpointuk@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you and we'll read the questions out on our next podcast. Okay, that's going to be about it for me. So on behalf of me and Michelle, thanks for listening to Aiming Point, and we'll catch you on the next one.